Hey everybody, welcome back to the Church of the Harvest Family Ministries Parenting Podcast. Pastor Royce here with the more of the fam than what you're used to. Of course, my beautiful wife Jenny, who is now officially our children's director, which is exciting news. And then this is our dog. This is not a random dog, this is our dog. His name is Nico for short. His full name is Nicodemus. We don't call him Nicodemus all the time. And so sometimes people just think that we gave our dog a Latino name. That's not true. It's a Jewish name. Nicodemus is long though, so Nico is short. Corgi poodle, and corgis are supposed to be smart.
Oh, be nice to him.
Nicodemus was smart, and so that's why we named him that. But he's here too, joining us today. Got a little difference on the pod for you guys. But we also are, it's May.
It is.
It's officially, it's going to be May. Yep.
You got it.
We're done. Justin Timberlake for the win. Not really though. So with that, it means that we're quickly approaching a new season, a season that, depending on the age range of your kiddos, could be a really fun season, could be a somewhat dangerous season. That season is the summer season.
Yes.
So kids, if you have kiddos that are in a traditional school, public school setting, they're going to be home for summer, all the summer activities. I know what that means for our house. Yes. Lots of cleaning and lots of the pool.
Yes, lots of the pool.
Yes, lots of the pool, lots of being in sunshine, but also lots of, kind of ups and downs at the house with the girls being home. And what do you like the most, do you think, about family life in the summer season?
We talked about it the other day, and I think we're all really excited because we don't have to get up and get ready and go to school. There's we're not rushed anymore to go and do the things. We just kind of get to slow down and enjoy each other. And like you said, the girls and I, we live our lives at the pool. Yeah,
no, it's a real thing. We have a neighborhood pool just so everyone doesn't think that we're balling like that. Jesus doesn't pay personal pool money, but we pay the HOA, and that gives us access to our neighborhood pool. That's a thing around here, and so that's really fun. I like the change of it. I really do like everyone just being home. It gets so busy. We have a 16-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old daughter. They'll be 17 and 11 this summer, so both of them have summer birthdays. Our anniversary is in the summer.
Mother's Day,
Father's Day. Yeah, and there's usually a lot of activities. For a lot of the church world, a lot of people's lives kind of slow down around the summer, which is cute because ours don't at all.
Never.
They just speed up. It gets more intense. There's things like youth camps. Teenagers are home for the summer, and so our youth group is doing more things, typically speaking, which is an awesome opportunity to really create community with them, but it makes for a really, really busy season. Also, just trying to be really mindful of having a birthday in June, having an anniversary a week before that birthday, and then having another birthday in July. And so I know I look forward to those moments, but it does make it go really, really fast because it's what are the kids are out 10 weeks?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe not even, no, it's not even that.
Charlotte tried to convince us it was 4.5 months the other day.
Yeah, my 10-year-old was like, yeah, it's 3 months. And we're like, absolutely not. But anyway, it's just a period of time that they're home. And I know that, so let me ask this question too. So what are the things that you're, that you want to avoid in the summer? I just want to avoid sunburns. You guys don't deal with that.
That's not my problem.
No, they have Native American blood in them, and so they don't burn. I do. I'm Irish.
Yeah, it's not my problem.
So,
things I want to avoid is and it's inevitable, I'm bored. You want to respond with, I'll find you something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go.
There's always something to clean.
Floors to clean, toilet scrub.
Laundry.
Yes, laundry. You can pull some weeds.
Clean the guest bedroom.
For the love of heavens. Yes. So I'm bored and an overabundance of screen time.
Mm-hmm.
Of filling the I'm bored with, I'm just going to sit here on my iPad or my phone or the TV, whatever. And there's so many things to go do. It's just actually going to do those things.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like, I think just being proactive in planning that,
Yeah.
you know, because although we don't have the imposed day-to-day schedule, creating some semblance, maybe not like a schedule, quote unquote, but like, you know, and a lot of people I know, they have like vacations. There's a lot of summer activities. It's busy.
Yeah.
It's not that it's pointless or that it doesn't have activity in it. For most people, it's very busy. But then there's just the in-between time where there's the kind of ebb and flow of activity. And so it's, you know, like drinking from a fire hose for a little while, but then nothingness.
I would say probably for at least the last 3 to 4 years with Charlotte, she has gotten on a schedule as far as, okay, these are stuff that we agree as a family, like she wants to do, and that we say, hey, these are things that need to get done. We've kind of plotted out, okay, during this time, this is what you need to get done. Doing that and kind of coming together, saying, okay, what's our bucket list for the summer? What do we want to do?
Yeah, I've actually been just asking people, you know, that in general, not like bucket list per a particular season, but just like, okay, within parenting, right? What are goals that you have for your family, you know, this year, whether that be, you know, financial goals or time goals, like spending time together, spiritual goals, and then, you know, as family ministries, how do we really, how are we able to practically come behind that and support that? Because one of the things I think is interesting about this season too, specifically summer, and I'd say probably summer in the West, because it's not this way everywhere, but especially in America, you know, coming out of the springtime and out of the wintertime, where spiritually speaking, it's so central to, you know, Advent or the Christmas season, or however people like frame that, with, you know, Emmanuel and, you know, Luke 2 and these very kind of, I hate to say like stereotypical, but yeah, it's stereotypical, seasonal, demarcated spiritual.
They're almost like
emphasis.
landmarks.
And then you have Easter
Yeah.
for the spring season, but then it's like the summer is just kind of, it's like this, you know, the kids are home and it's a snowman's land necessarily. It's not that way necessarily, but it can be that way.
It can feel that way.
And so I think creating like a proactive approach, you have 2 seasons that are very specifically pointed. And then, you know, the summer season, you kind of get to, and I think about it maybe this way. Like, I think a lot of people have experienced things like sermon series, and maybe a lot of people haven't even thought about creating one. But what would it look like for you to create a sermon series for your family? Yeah. Not to preach at them, but to experience and to live through. Yeah. What does that look like? Could that be a devotional that you do with your family? Like I know that we did a shared devotional over the Christmas season. It was a lot of fun. It was just on the Bible app. And we, you know, there was like different parts and pieces, and we would just give, you know, each person in the family one of those parts. And so they would read that part, and then we would talk about it. And I would make sure to not say too many things. I would just answer questions that were asked to me. And if I had a question that I absolutely had to ask, I would throw it out there. But because I'm the preacher of the bunch, I try not to preach at home. It doesn't go so well. Yeah. It doesn't work. Prophet is without honor in his own home. I think that's in the Bible. Pretty sure Jesus said that. Pretty sure it was in a couple places actually. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The point being is like having being proactive about that, thinking about that, could be fun. Yeah. Could be, if you had to create a sermon series, what would it be?
You know, that's really hard because I actually do that now. Yeah, so it's difficult because I'm like, okay, well, yeah, these are the things I talk about, but to be fair, I'm like, oh, these are the things we're talking about with the kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all relevant to a degree. You know, we're about to go through the book of Colossians. Mm-hmm. I love exegetical. If you don't know what exegetical teaching is, it just means that you go through a book of the Bible or a portion of Scripture verse by verse, as opposed to a lot of times what happens, especially in non-denominational circles, which is that you take topic by topic. Yeah. So it's topical teaching. There's a few different kinds, but my favorite is exegetical.
Yes.
If you're Baptist, it's the only way to teach, technically. But I'm not going to make any arguments.
Good choice.
But so I think just thinking through that, what are some other things that you're sensitive to be proactive about around summer?
I just really enjoy my kids in the summer. Like, I really want to enjoy them. And because they are my children, we just like to be outside as much as possible.
Yeah, I was going to say fun.
Yeah.
It's like, it's got to be fun. We're known to go really hard for a really long time.
Fun, but also has to be like relaxing and easy because we're a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, we're busy. And I think that's the way a lot of families are. I think that's the way a lot of parents are. And so I think that easy default, to the screen is a thing. And shameless plug on that. So the last 3 weeks in the month of June, each of the Mondays, we're going to do a parent equipping series. Our first night, I don't know exactly what all of the topics that we'll cover are. We're going to try and cover a lot of topics and have like breakout opportunities. One of them is going to be around digital health.
Yeah.
And it comes from a gal who used to be an owner of a company she founded rather, a company that they created curriculum for organizations. They go into a lot of the public schools systems, but she kind of stepped away from it because in order to be a part of the public school system, they had to like make it a little bit more secular. And she's gospel centric in her approach to it. So that'll be a thing. So that's going to be, if I was actually thinking correctly, I'd have the dates for you, but it's the last 3 Mondays in June.
Yeah.
So just mark that on your calendar and add it to the proactive pieces. We're going to try to make it family friendly too, so that there's not just stuff for parents, but that we have like family opportunities, not making any promises, but just to put it out there. And we do have a really fun calendar.
We do.
We have a fun calendar.
I have them in my office.
Yeah. So June, we have a picnic in the park event. And then July, we have youth camp. And then August, we actually have, we're going to throw a party out at Black Bob Bay like we did last year. It was a lot of fun. We're going to cook food, though. So it's going to be a little bit
You're
a little bit
cook
new.
Food.
I'm not cooking food. I'm just going to hang out and shake hands and kiss babies.
Hey, tiny dog.
Nicodemus.
This is pretty much all he does.
He definitely does. He lays around, gets petted.
Interrupt things.
Gets treats.
Oh, why would you say that?
We love dogs just because he'll stay still. Yeah, it tricks him. So with the summer piece and the being proactive around things, preventing, trying to prevent things that maybe aren't as, advantageous as other things. We do have a new thing that's going to be going on this summer, which is our oldest daughter is going to Europe.
I don't think we're going to see her this summer.
She's going to be gone a lot. So, but that brings up a point that I think is important, because anytime there's a change in a season, I think subconsciously I see this happen a lot with 15, 16, 17-year-olds, usually guys. This happens a lot whenever you have a young man, and there is the subconscious anticipation of a transition, right? So we're doing college visits, and one of the things that tends to happen around those, upper teenage years, people that, kids, their temperaments change, their opinions change, their words change, their dispositions change, and their attitudes change. That's all true. And that can be good and bad. That's not just negative, right?
Right.
It can be positive as well, and oftentimes is. But a lot of times what I see in families is tension in that season. And a lot of times I ask some really weird questions. So one of the questions that I ask is with both mom and dad, their individual experience around that age as they were getting ready to transition maybe into college or into a different living situation, or whatever it may be. Although that happens less and less now around the age of 18. Kids do go to college, but the living situation just kind of, they're gone for a while and they come back and then they're there. which is totally fine. That's actually has a lot of advantages to it. But there's just a change. And whenever I have them explain to me their experiences, oftentimes not that great.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've observed is that a lot of people don't actually have a plan for transition. And so whenever it's coming, they recreate what they have experienced personally. And a lot of times that can be really bad, and it's really tricky and sneaky. So that being said, like, Chloe's going to Europe this summer. She'll be in her senior year next year. Have you been processing that, like, practically? For all the families who have, like, high schoolers, it's, you cross that bridge, and each kid's different.
That's very
It's
true.
not like because you've graduated one kid, it's just wash, rinse, and repeat for the others.
Nope.
It has its own, each kid has its own individual kind of process of how that works through our emotions and our spirits to some degree. But so what has that been like for you?
So something that, I feel like we do and have done forever is just kind of letting go of things little by little. So like, hey, expectations for you just increase a little bit more. And, she's going to be nannying this summer.
Yep.
So I'm like, we're not really going to see this kid. So between cheer practice and nannying and going to Europe, and college stuff, it's just letting her have that freedom, but also reminding her that she still has responsibilities and a role in our family, and she still has rules to follow, and being aware that we have to allow for that change so that she can experience different things, but also in a safe environment.
Yeah.
So, she's had the opportunity to get a job and figure out, how do you fill out tax forms, and what do you do when, I don't know, your tire goes flat?
Well, when you rear end a car.
I wasn't going to call her out like that.
It happens, dude.
I know.
It happens to all of us. We go through, and that's kind of the point, is like life. A lot of times the pressure that happens as a secondary consequence to life unfolding is the thing that creates the resilience of the individual. And so I think that's really hard to figure out as parents, is that we're not trying to allow enough pressure to crush our kids, but knowing what that line is and understanding they're very resilient. So like in, that exact situation, just having a conversation where kid's really upset and they just experience this. And she's like, hey, you're not making me feel better. And I'm like, hey, it's not my job to make you feel better right now.
Right.
It's my job to make sure you're safe.
She got her paycheck.
Yeah.
And the first thing she did
was pay her ticket.
Pay for her ticket. That's right.
Well, hopefully that's how it goes down, But
it was what happened.
I've seen it go a lot of different directions.
I know.
But the point is just allowing that pressure to kind of say, and it's not the responsibility of a parent to remove and relieve all the time. If it's critical, or it is, what's the word I'm looking for? If it is vital.
Okay.
Right? Meaning that, there's a potential of major harm.
Right.
Right? As a consequence, that's different than, no, you're resilient and you are going to have to deal with this pressure, and I'm not going to pull it off of you.
I think that's been one of the most interesting things for me, is for her to experience, like, okay, this is how life's going for me and how my parents have handled things. And then seeing friends that are graduating this year that have never had a job, and knowing like how you're going to go to college and have to get a job and juggle your schoolwork and she's like, I couldn't do that. Like, that wouldn't work for me because I needed to have this experience.
Sure.
So there are times where she gets frustrated with us about how we handle things or the amount of weight that she carries. But then she has opportunities to see, okay, well, I have friends that are doing it this way, and I'm so glad that I'm not having that experience.
Yeah, and I think it's to each their own.
Yeah.
But to some degree, there always has to be a level of resiliency that's not only created, but it's also like there's a faith within our kids that we have for our children that says, you can.
Yeah.
You can, and I'm going to prove out that belief by like letting you and watching you go through this, and I'm not going to pull you out of it. And you can do it again in healthy ways. I'm not talking about like, your kids just out, partying 3 days a week and therefore they're tired and you're like, you can do it. It's like, this isn't a good example or good idea to go about it this way. But, having a job, because that could look, maybe a kid that you have, their temperament is more socially like the reality of them walking up to a food place and ordering food could be difficult. Yeah. And that's the pressure that they need to face. Yeah. Or the idea of walking into a new classroom could be an overwhelming pressure that they have to face. Or there's all kinds of different things, and you have to just figure out as parents, where do you allow the pressure in this season to produce the strength that's necessary in the next season. And there's a lot to be said within that realm, because I think one of the things that we're finding, like there's a really interesting book that's out now by a gal named Abigail Schreier, and it's called Bad Therapy. And it's very interesting to me because I have a lot of like different experience within psychology and just different things that happen within the psychological realm, which obviously, therapy and psychology aren't the exact same things, obviously, but therapeutic practices are. But one of the things that they're finding is that whenever awareness is raised around a particular issue, think like breast cancer. Well, what happens? Well, deaths from breast cancer goes down. Okay. So the adverse effects are mitigated by the awareness and the treatment going up. Yeah. Well, they're finding the exact opposite of that happening with therapy. The awareness and the treatment of it has gone up, and the negative consequences have also gone up. And so there's a lot of, I'm not like anti-therapy, and the book's not anti-therapy, but there is a level of understanding around things like terms like self-esteem. Right. So just so that everyone's aware, self-esteem there's no actual such thing as self-esteem. There is no type of output that your brain produces that can mark self-esteem. You can say personal value, like personal value is a thing. That would be a more accurate term, like having a sense of value. Yeah. But a sense of value is a secondary consequence to a worldview. Okay. So your personal value is going to be somewhat dictated based upon your value system, and your value system is based upon your worldview. Okay. So even within, like, for example, the Christian world, we don't have a self-value. We have a proven value, and the value that's proven is proven via the cross. Right? So that's our faith, our belief system, our worldview as it comes to personal value. Like the personal value that we are is what heaven was willing to pay to purchase us. That transaction was the cross. So that's our value, and that's where we derive our value from. Now, what they're finding in things like therapy are that there's a very self-centered worldview that's being established, and it's a subconscious worldview. It's not like, hey, this is the worldview of therapy, but it is centered around self. And one of the things that's very interesting, I mentioned this to Pastor David in a room full of other pastors, and he stopped me and he was like, hold on, say that again. So here's what they found. So there is technically no difference from your brain's activity and the different neurological circuits that are used between thinking about yourself and suffering. They're the same thing, psychologically speaking. The exact same mechanisms. Now, what's also interesting about this is that the mechanisms in your brain that are responsible for, like when you express emotions like gratitude, they nullify those areas of the brain.
All right.
So they will actually, so the best way to bulletproof your brain, like psychologically speaking, from like anxiety and things that come from having a self-centered view is to exercise gratitude. especially early in the morning. So if you wake up and you write down things that you're grateful for, and the writing down thing is important there. But anyway, it's all just to say that like that, the self-centered view of things is a worldview, and it changes how people see themselves. And as people are experiencing these transitions, maybe from like home to college or into the workplace, I know that's a big like generational gap, is like how, you know, boomers deal with like maybe Gen Z people entering the workforce.
Yeah.
And they're like, are these kids crazy? And it's like, no, they're just, they think different than
Right.
you thought. It's not just all about productivity. It's not just all about money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time.
Yeah.
And money. You know, it's the balance of these things. And so as those transitions happen in the lives of our kids, I think the language that I like to use is, how are we going to shepherd
Mm-hmm.
and how are we going to shield?
Yeah.
So that's a concept that's been around for forever, shepherding and shielding. And I think it depends on your temperament or maybe your convictions. There's definitely things that we've shielded our kids from
Right.
in seasons of life that it was appropriate to. But also understanding, like at the end of the day, our kids are going to experience everything that exists. You can't hide them from everything for forever. And so at what point do you kind of pull the Band-Aid off and look at it and say, that's real? Like, how are we going to deal with that?
Mm-hmm.
So also, how do you agree upon that within a relationship, a marriage as two parents, or maybe if you're in a two-parent situation?
Yeah.
I know that, and what I'll say for us is that it was different for each of our kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with
because
Chloe,
they're very different.
with Chloe, her ability they're both very, very smart in different ways. They're smart in similar ways, but they're also smart in very different ways. So Charlotte's extremely like socially intelligent.
Yes.
In ways that could be potentially dangerous. But with great power comes great responsibility.
We use our powers for good and not evil. That is the mantra.
Yeah. But like with Chloe, Chloe, she's a very typical firstborn.
Yes.
Type A.
Yes.
Very goal-oriented, self-driven, set us up for absolute failure with Charlotte. She just, we call her Mary Poppins at home because she's practically perfect in every way.
Oh, man. Yeah,
And
you have this kid, and it's like, man, I'm great at parenting. Way to go! Yes!
We shepherded and shielded perfectly.
Yes.
No, it's just the grace of God.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And it's funny because God removed a little bit of that grace and said, here's the next one.
Woo!
So God bless all of you who have 6 children.
Oh, yes.
No, it's interesting, to think about how to do that and how to have those conversations based upon the development of the personality of the kid. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is that in the same way that how you achieve physical fitness, right? So how do you engage voluntarily, momentary, controllable moments of suffering.
Yeah.
Right? So you manage the suffering, but you voluntarily go into it. And what it produces is strength. What it produces is health. Mm-hmm. Where the opposite has the opposite effect. So comfort is like sugar. It's a slow death. Yeah. And that seems so counterintuitive, but it's so true. Yeah. And I think what's even more interesting about that is that so there's this concept of having a theology of suffering. Mm-hmm. You don't hear that a lot.
No, people don't like that word.
Suffering is interesting though, because if it's really in a practically atheistic point of view, suffering is pointless. So this was the conclusion that I came to as a non-believer that really created a transition. Was I was in a moment of pain that was so extreme that I could not conceptualize a purpose for it if there were not a reality of God. Yeah. And so how you deal with the problem of pain matters significantly. And what we see in the cross that we're, by the way, like, Jesus said, take up your cross daily and follow after me. What is that? That's the voluntary, right, measured way that, and this is where it gets really cool. The Father that is God parents us as children.
Yeah.
He says, okay, here's a cross, and I'm going to give you a cross that's just heavy enough that you are going to realize you can't carry it by yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's going to, and that people will say, like, God won't give you more than you can handle. I have a huge problem with that. Like, every part of the Bible screams, yeah, it's going to be more than you can carry. The best conceptualization of this in my mind, and the best picture of this is God incarnate, literally Jesus, is carrying his cross up to Golgotha where he'll be crucified, and he cannot carry it.
Yeah.
So
what makes you
what is impossible for God?
Yeah.
To carry his cross by himself. And so Simon of Cyrene has to be picked from the crowd to do it and to help him. That's so mind-blowing. And so God as a father puts that weight on the Son, and what does it produce? It produces salvation, and it literally produces family.
Yeah.
It is the thing that produces family. Because it's on that cross that Jesus says to John and to Mary, behold your mother and behold your son. So, I guess as a meta theme to this conversation, Nico is really cute.
He is.
You're
chill on the
beautiful.
floor. Thanks, boo.
You're welcome. You guys make me look better every time. And being proactive around seasons is a really good idea.
Yes.
Having fun is absolutely necessary.
Absolutely.
And don't avoid the pressure.
Yeah.
Because I would suggest that it may be not all of the elements of our culture that are tearing down family, although those things don't help.
Right.
But I would probably say that a large part of the issue could be our unwillingness to endure and to engage the pressure that produces the families that we're meant to be. Or we apply pressure in the wrong places.
That is also true. Yes.
And usually we apply pressure in the wrong places due to fear or anger. And so we have to go back to the place where Jacob was, where he wrestled with God himself. So interesting to me. There's so many applications to Jacob wrestling with God. But notice that Jacob didn't think the whole time that he was wrestling with God that Esau should be wrestling him instead.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard concept because it makes us... I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and I made the statement that humility will diffuse anger. Almost all forms of anger are diffused by humility.
Yeah.
Because when we stop blaming other people and we start looking inward and saying, okay, how... Like Jacob knew he was in the wrong. Like he knew he had tricked his brother. It was obvious to him. But it's like, well, when it's not obvious to us, do we still go to that place where we wrestle with God? Of that place of humility? But also in that place of humility, like he was unwilling to let go. This is, I will not let you go until you bless me with name.
Yeah.
And so your name will no longer be Jacob, it'll be Israel. He who wrestles with God is the literal translation of the word Israel. And so it's like that's what the wrestling with God, allowing God to wrestle with us. And that is, in my opinion, that's the difference between like therapy versus like what Christianity should give. Because Christianity isn't me examine me. Like that's therapy.
Right.
Me examine me. But whenever it's God examine me.
It's a whole different ballgame.
And that's so weird because then when we see things from God's perspective, this is the really crazy part. It challenges our view on who we see God to actually be.
Right.
Because when you say, God, examine me, what's the report card on that?
Yeah.
Is it, oh, you need to fix this, you need to do better with this, you need to get, like, I'm disappointed in you in this way.
No.
I bet if that is your perspective, that's going to be how you parent.
Yeah.
Ouch. If you can't say amen, say ouch.
Stop it.
But it's like, okay, it really challenges our view of the gospel, because if I think of, okay, God examine me, how do you see me? It's not that those things are ignored and that they don't exist, other than disappointment, because God can't be disappointed. So therefore, it isn't. It's an illegal form of an emotional expression. So just so everyone's aware.
Yep.
It's unauthorized. If God can't do it, then we can't represent it.
Right.
And God can't be disappointed because he's sovereign and omniscient. So you can't be sovereign and omniscient and disappointed. You can be grieved. That's different.
Fair.
But anyway, if those things can all exist, but if we're in Christ, and this challenges our view of Christ. Because if we think that God sees us covered in Christ and is anything other than delighted,
right,
then we have a wrong view of God, and we have a wrong view of Christ.
Yeah.
Or we've overinflated our own sense of inadequacy.
Yeah.
And you can't overinflate your sense of inadequacy compared to the cross, because the cross was either sufficient or it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I hope you have a great summer. We got parenting classes. We got a really fun summer lined up.
We do. I mean, this Friday.
We do have movie
night
this Friday.
Yeah.
Here at the church, South Auditorium. There'll be food and popcorn. This Friday is what's the day?
3rd.
May the 3rd, just for everyone who's catching this after that. But check out the church website. We'll be posting on all of our socials. Follow our socials. And if you had the opportunity to check us out on YouTube today, you got to see Nico.
Woohoo!
And if you didn't know we were on YouTube, then you can go check it out in your free time. Love you guys so much. I hope to see you sometime this summer if you're around and in the area. If not, thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.